Charlie Morton gets the W in what will probably be the last start of his Orioles career, and Seranthony Dominguez traded in between games of the doubleheader with the Blue Jays. Hello, everybody. I'm Jon Leiberman. This is Orioles Digest. This is trade deadline season. We are now within 48 hours, essentially, of the end of the trade deadline. The Orioles make a move in between games of the doubleheader today, sending Seranthony Dominguez across the diamond to the Blue Jays. He might appear for the Jays in the nightcap tonight. The Orioles spanked the Jays 16-4, so who needs a bullpen anyway? At this point, when you're scoring this amount of runs, maybe that's what Mike Elias is thinking. You put up double-digit runs, you score 50-plus over the last 5 games. Who needs a bullpen? Baker gone now, Soto gone, Dominguez gone. We're going to get into what the Birds got back, and we're going to get into what could be next for the Orioles as well. Please like, subscribe, do all of the things, because it's going to be busy around here coming up. Let's start with Seranthony Dominguez, traded in between games today. The Birds win the first game 16-4, continue to pound the baseball. Seranthony goes to the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays, in return, trade a guy named Warren Watts Brown to the Birds. We're going to dig into who that is. He's a pitcher. But first, let's look at Seranthony's numbers this year. Seranthony pitched in 43 games, 41 innings pitched. He gave up 4 homers, struck out 54, a very respectable ERA. The whip, tiny bit high, 1.344. And he had walked, he had had some control problems, as you can see. He allows about 5.5 walks per 9. So Seranthony Dominguez, though, on an expiring contract, I don't think anybody thought the Orioles were going to try and keep Seranthony around, and so this move was expected. And now, what you're probably wondering is, well, what did the Birds get back? Luckily, you've come to the right place to find that out. So this is Warren Watts Brown, Blue Jays' number 10 prospect in their organization. He has a 4-pitch mix. He throws the fastball, the curveball, the slider, and the changeup. He's 23, young. He was a third-round pick in the draft back in 2023 out of Oklahoma State. He is a righty. He has been at Double-A. Let's look at his stats to this point. Excuse me. So this is these are his stats to this point. This year he's 2-5, a nice ERA though, 3.54 ERA, 19 games, all starts, 89 innings pitched. He struck out 115 with a respectable whip. Overall in his career in the minors, and obviously what the number that sticks out is the strikeout number, but in his career, 6-16 with a bit over 4 of an ERA in 40 games started, 192 innings, 246 strikeouts. What do you think? I mean, this just happened. This just happened. And so I think we're all processing it a little bit. I think that, what you saw in the Soto move, what you're seeing here in the Warren Watts Brown move is the acquisition of young arms, the acquisition of arms that hopefully give the Orioles depth. Will it make a difference in 2026? Perhaps. Does it help beyond, though? Yes, if everybody stays healthy. And the Orioles got back what I believe, what you would expect they would get back, a pretty strong prospect from the Jays. And you could say, well, why did the Orioles deal Seranthony within the division? Well, at this point, I think that might be a moot point, although I will point out the Birds are only 7.5 out of the wild card. And if they sweep this doubleheader, they're 7 back with 2 months to play. Orioles magic, right? Super interesting. So, Sir Anthony, that's the move. But again, if the Birds keep scoring like this, the Birds have broken the franchise record for runs scored in a 5-game homestand. 53 so far today. The previous was 52. Set back in 2018. July 27th through the first game of a doubleheader back then as well. So the Birds are obviously, hitting the cover off the ball. And the other thing about the Birds as well is that, today actually they set the record for homers and sacrifice flies in the same game as well. So there you go. Another record set by the Birds as well. So the question is now, of course, who's next? We expect Cedric Mullins, who had another great game today. We expect that Ced will be on the block. We told you about Sir Anthony. We, at the top of the broadcast, we showed you Charlie Morton. Morton with a quality start today. You would expect that that's probably his last start as an Oriole as well. He looked very strong. You would expect Tomoyuki Sagano to most likely be on his way out. Zach Eflin on his way out. And look, it's interesting because, a week ago, the players that were the top trade bait for other teams were mired in really bad slumps for the most part. And now, just like that, they're out of it. I mean, you have Ced, you have Ced hitting like Ced. You have Ryan O'Hearn, who went through some time after the All-Star break in a slump, who's now hitting really well as well. You had Sagano with a decent outing, Charlie Morton with a good outing, Zach Eflin with a decent outing. So, it'll be really interesting to see if these guys' trade values, went up just in the span of the last week. But, the Birds clearly are trying to send a message right now to the front office with their bats at least. The message most likely is do not tear this team apart. But I think as we saw today, I would expect most, if not all, of the guys on expiring contracts to be gone in the next 48 hours. The Orioles clearly are putting a premium on young pitching. Clearly the Orioles need pitching. So you bulk up the farm system with young pitching. You get an ace in the offseason, and now all of a sudden, potentially, you're talking about an ace along with Bradish and along with Grayson and along with Dean Kramer and along with Tyler Wells and along with Chase McDermott and Cade Povich. And now you're talking about, if you can stay healthy, a really deep pitching rotation for the Birds. But all I can say is let's hope the Birds continue to score 16 runs in a game because not many recognizable faces back in the bullpen. We're tracking everything Orioles Digest, Jon Leiberman.